Hello, lovely booktubers. I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Raina Reads Stuff. I am here in the book shack. It's Tuesday. I'm going to do Tag Tuesday on a Tuesday, which is most unusual for me. And this one is in honour of my lovely friend, Pat, at Book Chat with Pat. Pat has just celebrated topping 2,000 subscribers, which is thoroughly deserved and amazing. And in honor of that, she has created her first original tag. And this is called the BookTube Community Joy and Gratitude tag. And there are a number of prompts. There are 7 prompts and a tag everybody prompt. We start with joy. And it says, let's be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Marcel Proust. And the first question is, name an author whose books bring you joy, or discuss a particular book that makes you joyful. The author who brings me joy is P.G. Wodehouse. And to be honest, I don't care what I read by him. I just find these books completely delightful. The names in them are brilliant. The characters are brilliant. The stories are convoluted and ridiculous. And I love them. And if I'm ever in a reading slump, or I don't know, you're feeling a bit down for some reason, I know I can pick up a P.G. Wodehouse book and it's going to cheer me up. Any of them, in a way that other books can't. Question number 2, discuss something about BookTube that you find joyful. I just find BookTube joyful. I know a lot of content creators say that they hid in the background for sometimes quite a long time before deciding to launch a channel of their own. I didn't do that. I came across BookTube quite accidentally in the summer of last year. And one of the first channels I found was Vin at Revenant Reads, who was talking about Historathon. And I instantly thought, I want to play that game. That sounds just so much fun. And so I messaged Vin and said, even though I've pretty much missed the first 2 quarters of the year, can I still take part? And he was lovely and he said, yes, I could. And so I did. And I made a video about it. And from that very first moment, the BookTube community that I discovered was just lovely. And I'd been looking for something that was... I don't know that many people who read a lot of books, and they certainly don't want to sit and discuss them with me. And all of a sudden, this huge community was opened up. And it genuinely brings me joy. Over the last 15 months, I've made friends, proper friends. And That's wonderful. That you can make friends all around the world while sitting in a shack in your back garden in Nottingham. Question number 3. Discuss a book. Oh, this is the friendship section, and the quote for this one: kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world. Ellen Montgomery in Anne of Green Gables. Discuss a book that focuses primarily on friendship. I come back to this book time and time again. It's called Sweet Bean Paste, and it's by Durian Sukagawa, and it is lovely. This is about a man called Sentara who thinks he's failed in life generally. He's middle-aged. He has a criminal record. He drinks too much. He runs a tiny little backstreet confectionery shop which sells dorayaki, which is apparently a type of pancake, and it's filled with sweet bean paste. The trouble is he's not very good. And this woman comes into his life called Toku. She's an old lady. He sees her outside the shop. She has disfigured hands, but she wants to work with him. And initially, Sentara just sends her away. He can't have someone working in the shop who's got disfigured hands, who's elderly. Then he discovers she makes the best sweet bean paste he has ever tasted. And so reluctantly, he takes her on. And this is about the most unlikely friendships between Toku and Sentaro, but also a young girl who comes into the shop to buy these pancakes. And it's intergenerational, just beautiful friendship. And I love this book. I think it's great. So I think that fits the bill. Now, the next section is laughter. There's nothing like deep breaths after laughing so hard. Nothing in the world like a sore stomach for the right reasons. Stephen Chbosky, Perks of Being a Wallflower. Discuss an author or a specific book that makes you laugh. For this one, I'm going to go with Saki. Saki was the pen name of a guy called Hector Hugh Munro. And this is a book of his complete short stories, many of which I find hilarious. He has been compared to Oscar Wilde, who I also love, and P.G. Wodehouse. He's very satirical. He's an Edwardian author. And some of his short stories are just ridiculous. One of my very favourite is called The Unrest Cure. And there's a vicar who's sitting on a train. And he's overheard by another passenger talking about his very dull and boring life. And the other passenger notices the address label for said reverend, which is on his luggage sitting above his head. and he devises a series of events that is going to shake the vicar out of his boredom. It's one of the funniest short stories I think I've ever read. I can thoroughly recommend Saki. Community. We cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fibres connect us with our fellow men. Herman Melville. There's 2 questions for this one. Discuss a book where the idea of community is important. One of the most exceptional books I read this year was, I can't remember the author's surname. It's a book called I Who Have Never Known Men. And I read it. Oh, good grief. I looked this up before I did this. Don't you find it annoying when you completely forget things? Right, I'm going to find it on here. Wrong one. I'm sorry I'm so disorganized. It's funny, I was thinking about that actually for another tag video. Right. I Who Have Never Known Men is by Jacqueline Hartman. And I ought to remember that because really it's one of the best books I've read this year. This is a really strange book. I'm not quite sure what genre to put it in. A group of women wake up and they're in a cage. They're in an underground cage and they have absolutely no idea where they are or how they got there. And around this cage is a sort of walkway, and male guards bring them food, which they have to cook themselves. Occasionally they'll deal with someone who's ill. They'll remove people who have died, but they won't speak to them. And then one day, one of the women is very, very young. She's the only child among the group. She's taken under the wing of another woman. One day, a load of alarms go off. Coincidentally, the guards have just opened the door to put food in. The guards all disappear up some stairs and they don't come back. And the women wait for a little while, but then they venture up the stairs to see what's up there. And they come out into this large vista. They actually have no idea whether they're still on Earth. They can see nothing other than countryside. They can't see any roads. They can't see any buildings. They can't see any people. The guards have just gone. We never do discover why or where. They've just gone. And this group of women are left there to fend for themselves. Now, obviously, it's not ideal to be locked in a cage, but people were bringing them food. Now they have to find their own. They have to form their own community. They have to, unless they still want to live downstairs in a cage, create their own homes. And it's fascinating, this book. Don't expect all the questions to be answered about where they are, what they're doing there, why they're there, who the people were who captured them. Some are answered, some aren't. This book is mainly about how this community of women learn to interact with each other and learn to fend for themselves, and it's brilliant. Right, back to the questions and discuss a communal reading experience that you have had. I've had lots of communal reading experiences on here that I have very much enjoyed. Any regular watchers of this channel will know that I was one of the Ulysses 6, as was Pat. We read Ulysses over 2 months and came together a number of times to discuss our reading of Ulysses. And the rest of the Ulysses 6, Roy Reads Anything, Greg, another bibliophile, reads, Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, and Will at Will Chambers, and then Pat and I. And it was a difficult book. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I loved it, because I did struggle. At times I did struggle. Without the Ulysses 6, I wouldn't have completed it. It was my first time reading it. But the experience of reading this book with these people was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Other group reads that I've thoroughly enjoyed was the reading of Les Miserables earlier this year, and also we read As I Lay Dying as part of the Faulkner in August group. It was my first time joining that group, and both of those were really good experiences. I read War and Peace at the beginning of the year. I was less sure about group reading experiences then, so I didn't interact as much as I probably should have done. But they were all great experiences. On top of that, I've had some really enjoyable buddy reads. I love my buddy reads with John David and Stephanie Cohen, who is a commenter, doesn't have a channel herself, and Vin at Revenant Reads, and also Alex Unabridged. And in all of these circumstances, what has made the buddy read so enjoyable is the chat we have about it at the end. I don't have that in-person experience here, so finding that on BookTube has just been amazing. Now, gratitude. I can no other answer make but thanks and thanks. William Shakespeare, Twelfth Night. Name a book in which a character demonstrates real gratitude, or name a book that left you feeling with a sense of gratitude. And that for me is this tiny little thing, A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. For a very small book, this packs an enormous punch. This is about Tom Birkin, who is a First World War survivor. He is suffering from what we would now know as PTSD. He has both mental and physical manifestations of the PTSD. He is employed to go and uncover an ancient mural in a church in a small village in the north of England. While he's there, he meets another guy who's an archaeologist who has been employed to try and find the grave of someone who was buried outside the churchyard and discover why he was buried outside the churchyard. This book is so gentle and so calm and so poignant. It's about Birkin looking back on his time in the village, which is really, it's the interwar period, and it's really been untouched by the very rapid changes that are going on in towns and cities. It's about the beauty and the peace that he finds there, and the gratitude he feels for that month, with the friendships he made and the experience that he has that helps heal him. Honestly, this is the sort of book that I can see myself rereading every year because it's beautiful. And I am grateful that BookTube recommended it to me. I'm grateful to have read it in the same way that Birkin is grateful to have experienced that month in the country. Now, the very final thing to do is to tag some people. Pat and I have a very similar subscriber and friend list in our little corner of BookTube. So a lot of the people I would tag are already tagged. So I am going to try and figure out people who haven't been tagged. If I fail and you've already been tagged, apologies. If you want to do this tag and I haven't tagged you, go ahead and do it because it's great. I'm going to tag Booklist Pete. I am going to tag... Oh, she's changed her names. What? Faith and Books. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Pat. Many congratulations on reaching 2,000 subscribers. So well deserved. And thank you for this tag. It was joyous. Bye for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.